Hi there, I'm Eva from Rural Arts, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a macrame plant hanger. This is one I've made before. It's a fairly large one compared to the one I'll be making today. It's just to give you an idea of what it will look like at the end. Macrame is something I really enjoy doing in my free time. I'm a big lover of houseplants, so I like to sort of switch up how I pop them around the house, and you can bring a really nice splash of greenery and colour to your space. You can also use them to hang other things. They don't just have to hang plants, whatever you like, as long as it's the sort of bucket shape. I find macrame really therapeutic. Once you've sort of got the hang of the basic knots, you can just sort of sit and make with your hands, which some people really enjoy. It's really open to people of all ages, abilities. You do need a little bit of dexterity in your hands to be able to do the knots, but other than that, once you've learnt it, you're away. I'll show you a couple of variations on different knots you can do to have different effects. You can also play around with different things to add on to them, like beads for example, or different colours of string. Wooden beads are quite popular, or glass beads can look really pretty when they catch the light as well. So I'll get straight on to showing you the basics, and then we'll be away with making our macrame plant hanger. The first thing you want to do is cut out 12 lengths of string, each 6 feet long. You can see how I've done this. Brilliant, so I've got all my materials gathered here. So I've got some tape, a pair of scissors, a measuring tape, I've got the pieces of string all cut out to length, and then I've got an extra bit of string for tying off. And then you need something that's got a hook on it or a loop. You can use actual macrame rings, or they look a bit like curtain rings, but if you use something like that, just bear in mind it will be staying on your macrame hanger. If you use something that's not a closed loop, like the top of a clothes hanger, then you can just slide it off and you don't have to leave it on there. So that's what I'll be doing today. The first thing you want to do is we're going to fold the string in half, and then at the halfway point in the loop, pop that over your hook. You can either tie this off just in a knot, or you can do it a little bit fancy, and I'm going to use this extra bit of string to tie off a slightly nicer looking knot. To do that, so you want to make a loop with this string, just about 2 inches long, and the whole bit of string is about 2 feet long. And then with the small end pointing up towards your hook, you want to lay it against the string, so you've got a little tail just here, and then wrap this end around the rest of the string, so you're binding it together. Like so, and I'll just keep wrapping all the way around. And once you've got just about 2 inches left, you want to thread that through this loop you've got at the bottom, if you can see that. Thread that through the loop, and then tug on the tail that we left sticking out at the top, and it will catch the end of your string and pull it up into that big wrapped bit that you've just made. There we go. So it should feel nice and tight and snug. Then just take the scissors to trim the top and the bottom. And that's the beginning of the macrame. So the next step is to tie your starter knots so that you can actually start doing the macrame knotting. You can see I've just taped down the hanger here so that it'll stay steady, and I've got a little bit of resistance when I'm tying my knots. And I've grouped the strings into 4 groups, and each one's got 4 strings in it. So we'll tie the starter knots about 10 inches down from the top, but this is relative to whatever length of string you're starting with. So if you're doing a much longer one, then just adjust how far down they are. So 10 inches is out there for me. And then a starter knot's just a really simple bog standard knot. Loop it over, pull it through. There we go. That's one. And then I'll do one on each of the groups. There we go, that's all 4. You don't need to worry about them being perfectly accurate, just as long as they're roughly at the same length, and that'll be absolutely fine. And the next thing to do is to start making the actual macrame knots. So the first thing is a left-sided knot. I'll show you how to do this, and once you've learned how to do this, then you can do the whole of macrame. So if we push those aside for the moment, and then you want to have your 4 strings laid out. To do a left-sided knot, bring the left string over the 2 centre cords. Then you want to take the right string over the left one, but underneath the 2 centre ones, like so. And then bring it up through this loop on the left. So you can just see how I've woven that, and then that should butt straight up against the starter knot and be nice and snug. There we go. So the next thing you can do is you have 2 options. You can either keep making left-sided knots, and if you do that you'll get a sort of spiral effect, a bit like a double helix. Or you can make a box knot, which is what I'm going to do, which is where you alternate between doing a left-sided knot and a right-sided knot. And it's just what you think it would be. So for a right-sided knot, we take the right cord over the 2 middle ones, and then we take the left cord over the right, under the middle, and then up through this loop on the right. And there we go, that's a box knot. I'll bring that so you can see. It doesn't look like much to begin with, but once you've done a few of them you'll see the pattern emerging, and it looks really lovely when it's hung next to each other. So that's really nice. So I'll carry on making these and you can see how they build up. So here you can see I've done the same length on each one, and what I've actually done is I've done 2 where I've done box knots, so I'm doing an alternating left side knot and right side knot, and then I've done 2 where I just did left sided knots, so you can see the effect that that has. I've done 2 of those. You can have a play around with whatever you like and how you'd like it to look, so you could do them all in left-sided knots, or you could do them all box knots, or you could mix and match if you want to do like I've done, where you've got 2 of each, whatever you like the look of. So once you've got the same length of each, and I've done about 2 inches here, and then I just measured the rest off the first one I did. So the next thing to do is we're going to make new groups to start forming the basket shape of the planter hanger. So you want to make sure that for each new group you have a centre cord and a side cord going into the new groups. So I'll split that in half. Like so. So we've essentially got 4 new groups, and what we want to do is about 2 inches again down from where you last left off. You want to tie a box knot in this new group. It's just the same as how we tied them before, but we're just starting off here. And even if you used just all left side or all right side knots like I did here, you will want to use a box knot for this one to make sure it's nice and secure. So just the same as before, I'll have the 2 centre cords here, and then we've got left over the centre, right over the left, then under the centre, through the loop, and we'll pull it nice and taut so it sits about 2 inches below the bottom there. That was my left-sided knot, and then I'll do a right-sided knot, so right over the centre, left over right, under the centre, up through the loop, and then we pull that taut under the first one. There's a first box knot there, starting off this new group. You can see, just ignore the other strings for the moment, they're all a bit straggly. You can see that started a new group there. And then tie a second box knot underneath, so that's that one. And then I'm going to do the same here and here. I'm just going to leave these 2 outside ones for the moment. There we go. So you can see we've formed new groups there with these double box knots, each at about the same length. It does get a little bit fiddly during that bit. I think forming the new groups is probably the most fiddly bit. If you find yourself struggling, tape is your best friend. Just tape groups out the way wherever you need them to be so that it's easier to keep track of the different strings. So then the final bit here is just going to do the same again, but we're going to join these outside bits. You can see we're forming the basket shape now. So I'll move those out of the way so it's a bit easier for me. Fab, there we go. So we've now got our basket shape. You can see that's formed a ring now. The next step is to do just the same again a little bit further down. So we'll be making 4 new groups with the ones next to each other. So you can see these two sit next to each other, and I've just rearranged them again so that from the 2 next to each other you've got the outside chords and 1 centre chord from each, and that forms a new group. And then again here, and again here, and you end up with stragglers on the outside again. So we'll be forming another basket shape. And I've heeded my own advice and used some tape to just pin things down so that they don't get too fiddly and lost and tangled. So just the same as before, make a box knot about 2 inches down. And then we'll make a second box knot right below it to strengthen it as well. There we go. So we've got our new groups there, and then again we've got these stragglers. So I'll take the tape off those. And then just the same as before, we're going to be bringing them together. Tape off there too. The same as before, I'm going to bring it together so that we form a basket shape again. So I'll move those out of the way. We're just focusing on these stragglers at the end. So we need 2 centre cords, and our 2 outside cords, and we're making a box knot. There we go. So it's a little bit difficult to see, but you can see we've ended up with a crisscrossing basket shape there, by joining the loops to form a ring on both sides, and it's got this nice diagonal look. So we're almost done, and to finish off your macrame plant hanger, you just want to gather up the ends of your knots, so those last box knots that you made, get them so they're the same length. There you go. And then again, just about 2 inches from the bottom, so I'll go about there, you just want to tie off a big stopper knot. If you want to do another knot like we started off with right at the beginning, you could do that. But you can also just do a really simple knot, so I'm just going to do that. Loop it round and pull it through. I'm just going to shuffle that where I want it to be and make sure it's nice and taut. And there we go. And then I'll just trim the ends so they're nice and neat. And this is the finished hanger. So you can see for the time being I've just hung it using the hook on my clothes hanger, but you can get an S hoop, or if you've got another ring or something to pass through it, you could use that. I've just put a temporary pot in here to be able to show you what it looks like with something in it. You want to make sure that you do have probably a pot without holes in the bottom. So a ceramic or jute hangers look really nice for this as well, and they're nice and light to hang from things. You can see this is just a small one that I've made this time, and the knots have turned out really well here. And then this is a large one that I've made previously, so you can see it's sitting in its own container, so we're not going to get any drips down here. And that one, all I did there is on the top knot I just shuffled down the stopper knot, so I was actually able to hang it straight onto the curtain rail there, and that's worked really nicely. So I hope you enjoyed that video on how to make a macrame plant hanger. I had a lot of fun making it, so hopefully you will too. If you do make this at home, we'd absolutely love to see what you've made. You can email photos to us, or you can post them on social media and tag us in them using the hashtag North Yorkshire Together. We really love seeing what people get up to if they're joining in with our videos, so we hope some of you join in too. This one's great because there's very few materials you need, so hopefully lots of people might have some spare string lying around they can get stuck in. And that's all from me. Enjoy the rest of your week.